Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Washington is a Joke. You know it, I know it, and today we are going to talk about it like always. So it seems that now the big thing to talk about is this mysterious fourth package that is going to be the catch-all or try to solve everything that the first, second, and now third package didn't solve. And at a certain point, you got to ask: are you just going to keep printing money? Are you just going to just have packages forever that anything you want, we're going to create a package for it and just encompass everything? So apparently this is now an infrastructure package, which, if you know anything about government, when they say infrastructure, it pretty much just means how much money can we take from everyone and say we're going to put it to good use. Because the last time the U.S. really probably had a major infrastructure project that was anything resembling successful was when we decided that we wanted an interstate to get from point A to point B. So if this bill, or whatever it looks like, which has ranged from prices of $600 billion to $2 trillion once again, actually gets passed, it will likely maybe have 10 to 20% to do with infrastructure and 80% to, well, whatever someone wants to do to get elected in November. So I am already going to say that I am against this bill because it is not going to solve the issues that we need to solve. Infrastructure is a problem, absolutely. But trying to rush this through or say, well, interest rates are low, so let's just go spend more money, is not the time to do it, particularly when we still are fighting a virus actively. There's not a clear sign of when this is going to slow down yet, hopefully soon, but we don't know. And so this idea that you're going to somehow solve that issue with, well, we're just going to reserve some capital in the future to build infrastructure is a bit ridiculous. I think if anything, if you want to solve infrastructure, what they should have done is, if they're going to loan out these companies money, that when this money comes back, it's going to go into a separate fund that is solely for infrastructure projects. Now, okay, that would have been reasonable. And, maybe they can change and pass again, small bill that suggests that. If that's the case, then great. You already sent this money out. You're going to continue to use it, and hopefully it grows. Awesome. But if you're just going to continue to just print more money and say, well, we want some infrastructure, so, well, we decided we're going to have an infrastructure bill, then I think that's a mistake. Now, one of the things that is interesting that's coming out of this is kind of the need for remote voting. Brazil has voting for congressional members. Other countries have voting for congressional members where the congressional members don't need to go into their place of government to cast votes. And the only reason that we don't have that now in the U.S. is because Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell both enjoy feeling like they are in charge, and king, queen of the castle, respectively, all bow down and worship. And I think that is still very frustrating, very annoying, because there's no reason. Again, we are in 2020. While congressional members cannot vote for legislation remotely, they can have their name on so that there is accountability to what you do or don't support. So they're not coming around November and say, whoa, 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 whoa. I never supported that. I never signed up for that. And consequently, I do think it's a worthwhile exercise to explore, can you expand mail-in voting? I think Oregon provides a model that could be expanded nationally. And sure, there may be some issues. Obviously, you want to make sure that process is secure. However, again, I think this is 2020. You should not be having to congregate in a place to vote. And anything that we can do to make voting more accessible, but also more secure, I am all on board, and I hope you'll continue to do that. Now, another thing that kind of got brought up is this idea of, well, the deaths in the U.S. could range anywhere from, 2.5 million to 100,000 to, maybe a little bit lower. And I think what's very strange to me still is it's like the world that the people live in Washington is just very disconnected from, I think, a lot of other parts of both the U.S. and also the rest of the world. Because they're starting to get this idea of, well, stuff's getting better, or it seems like it's great. And again, if the numbers are going down, day over day, that's awesome. But I don't really think that we should really be jumping the gun and say, oh, well, we're out of the woods yet. And everyone, just remain calm. We'll be fine. Because we've seen that there's been issues with, here in Dallas, you have people going out to parks. You have people, going out to Katy Trail. I'll admit, I've run on Katy Trail too. But you're still just having people unnecessarily congregating in places. And so if people are still not following these orders, they're not going to work and they're not going to the mall, which I guess is a good thing. But you're still going to run into problems if you're more or less viewing it as adult spring break, which, to be honest, at certain parts here in the U.S., I think is really the situation that you're having. And I think it's a little bit disingenuous that the Trump administration touts Texas and Florida as like, oh, we're doing a great job, when really they're almost taking the throw their hand in the sand approach and hope, well, nothing's going to go wrong. Now, is there a disconnect between having an urban population versus a rural population, yes, like this illness will likely more seriously affect urban populations than rural populations. But here in Dallas or here in Texas, we have major metropolitan areas. In Florida, they have a more kind of coastal communities that attract young people, but also have retirees, and that's not a good combination. And it just sort of seems that, well, the federal government tells us that everything's fine, so it should be fine. And personally, I just disagree with that. I think that we should really be erring on the side of caution. If it turns out to be for naught, then we can say, great, we minimize the risk, everything is fine. Hopefully that enables us to move back sooner to returning to normal. But if we have this kind of patchwork continued situation where no one really knows what they should or shouldn't do outside of maybe, Washington State, California, and New York, well, then this illness is going to pop back up, unfortunately, because it's going to move to a different state, and then that state's going to have to react to it and prepare, and then California and New York will improve, only for, unfortunately, likely to have reinfection risk. So what I'm really hoping for is that the federal government finally decides, look, this patchwork solution is not working. We really need to have some national standards. This is what we're going to expect you to follow. Yes, that conflicts with having states' rights issues, but at a certain point, this is a national problem, and the virus does not stop at state borders. This is not commerce where you can say, okay, you're not licensed to sell. The virus can be like, okay, fine, I'm just going to cross over your border. So the quicker we decide to have a national solution to this problem, the quicker I think that it gets resolved. And, as a reminder, rent is due tomorrow, April 1st. So if you know someone who is struggling or maybe struggling or just recently got laid off, really view this as an opportunity to reach out to them or as a reminder to reach out to them. Make sure they're okay. Make sure they have what they need because, again, we are going to get through this together. It's going to be challenging, but we got to look out for each other because, to be honest, the government's not going to do it for us. So with that, that's all I got. I will see you tomorrow, and I hope everyone has a wonderful day. And thank you so much, as always. Good night.